eating snacks.
And we are live.
Oh, buddy, here we go. What it do, snackers and snackettes? It's your boy Gage. Sin is in the building,
Yes, sir.
and Jokes is in the building,
Yo, yo.
and we have very special guest, Kevin Hawk, in the building with us. What's up, Kevin?
What's up, guys? How are
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Hey, we
Hey,
good,
listen,
man.
I miss
I
your
am
faces
excited.
and your musk and everything that goes with it.
All of it,
All of it.
all of it. Listen, we are here to do something very special and very different. This is our Being Comfortable Being a Geek panel, and we are doing this very differently from the way that we've had to do it in the past. Normally this is the kind of thing that we do at a convention, but there are no conventions. So, the team and I thought that we would start doing this panel once a month. In doing this panel and kind of having an opportunity to speak about what it's been like for us to grow up as geeks and find a level of comfortability. We have also found it has been great to invite other people on to also share what their stories have been like, talk about what they're going through. We've had great conversation with people in our audiences about dealing with their kids or having kids that have autism, or, being the parent that was the person in school that picked on people like us and now has a kid that is people like us and not knowing what to do about it. Like, we've had some really, really good conversations. We've completely enjoyed it. And so this is sort of a way to outreach and just kind of let people know that they're not alone, that we are a really big family, and that is kind of itself born out of just enjoying going to conventions, being with like-minded people for 2 or 3 or 4 days in a row and getting excited about things over and over. So we are really excited to do this. The intention is to continue to do it every month and to invite other people on, and we thought nobody better than to have on this person with us than Kevin, Mr. Transcendent Events. So Kevin, before we get into everything, I want you to just take a minute, tell everybody who you are, what you do. Tell us a little bit about Transcendent Events, please.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a lifelong nerd. Ever since I was a child, and especially when X-Men and Batman in the 90s came out in the cartoons. And I started playing music when I was in high school, so I got into the whole music scene, and that quickly took over my life.
Yeah.
So anyways, after I was played in a band for a while, started organizing shows. I wrote a comic book called Fantasy Killer, and through that I started seeing the convention scene. I did come out. I started getting back into comics as well because Third Eye Comics really grabbed me with their mark. They got me back into, I read comics when I was younger, and then I turned into more of a passive nerd fan that liked the movies. I guess it was the X-Men movies at the time, and but I got back into all that stuff, and I wrote a comic book, and I went to the conventions, and I just saw like a whole new world that was developing. And my career had been putting together concerts, and I was like, why am I not doing it with these people as well? Because I understand everything about this. I guess I shouldn't say everything about it because there's new nerd fandoms popping up every minute, and I can't keep up with it. But on a very general level, I totally understood it because when I was in high school, I quietly loved the cartoons because it didn't seem like anybody talked about it. It was kind of nerd had more of a negative connotation, I guess.
Absolutely.
More of a Screech Powers, Steve Urkel kind of nerd. That's what a nerd was back then.
Very much so.
So I quietly loved it, and then it's really funny nowadays to find out that so many people watched those shows when they were kids, and none of us talked to each other about it because we were all afraid to talk about it. But anyway, so I started doing events that are cosplayers and people who just love nerd fandoms, and that has developed into an amazing family. I mean, Harry Potter as well, Star Wars, all that stuff, and anime, and it's just turned into a great brotherhood and sisterhood of people that just love the same things, and I don't know, it's just wonderful to meet with those people. And
yeah, man. Transcendent Events has been just kind of a great outreach. It has certainly helped to fill that kind of empty space between cons. You know how everybody goes through like con withdrawal, like the weekend is over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, well, we got cosplay karaoke coming up in like 2 weeks. We'll be all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so I just kind of wanted to give a moment and a shout out to what you're doing with Transcendent Events. I do think
Thanks,
it's a super awesome thing. And it's something that I'm thankful for, and I'm positive that there are other people who are watching or listening who feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, our tagline is "You belong here," and that's our goal, you know. And anytime, you know, I mean, it really is. It's a great group of people almost all the time, but we keep it safe, you know. And
yes,
yeah,
you know, and that's really important to me. So
look, so this is happening on what was unfortunately going to be the second date for Nerdpocalypse.
Yeah.
Right now, we should all be in the heat, in the sun, holding drinks.
Well, actually, it's pretty nice out, man. This would have been
I should be on my third drink by now.
Because I think
just
the third right now. It's still early.
Yeah, that's true. But like two weekends ago was supposed to be Nerd Luau, and last year Nerd Luau was Artscape weekend, so it was like 100 degrees. And then this year it was like 70 something. I was like, this would have been so good because Nerd Luau, of course, is outside at the Sandlot. So,
right now we're looking at October 17th for Nerdpocalypse. So just make sure you guys have it marked on your calendars. Again, I think it's going to be, you know, we're going to have a good time. We have some things planned for that for sure. Here's what I want to do. I want to do a quick litmus test. Let's just run down some things. I just pick one or the other, okay? All we're going to do is just pick one or the other, okay? I'll be ready. I'm going to you first in ketchup or mustard.
Ketchup.
Okay. Jokes, Nintendo or PlayStation?
Woo. PlayStation.
Kevin, X-Men or Justice League?
X-Men.
All right. Sin, cake or pie?
Cake.
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 Jokes, pool party or beach party?
Woo. Pool party.
Okay. Kevin, this is a difficult one. Bill or Ted?
Oh, that's not. It's Ted. It's John Wick.
That was easy. That was easy.
It's Ted Theodore Logan.
Right. Fair enough. Finn, Dungeons and Dragons or Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings.
Jokes. Teen Titans or Teen Titans Go?
Oh.
You should not have to think that hard about this.
But they're both good. But I'm gonna go with OG Teen Titans though. They're both good though.
I mean,
sigh of relief.
Acceptable for the moment. All right, Kevin. Last one.
All right.
Matrix 1 or Inception?
Oh my gosh.
Buddy.
Yeah, the gut check him like that.
Uh-oh.
Pow! Right in the gut.
Good Lord. That's like Noah or Moses. I'm
just saying.
I mean, we need them both, right? I don't know.
I'm just saying.
You know, I'd have to say The Matrix only because it was more groundbreaking at its time. And the fact that it holds up when it was that old, like that long ago. What was that, 2000 or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like 99, 2000.
I can't say the same for the garbage sequels, but the original Matrix is.
That's why I specifically said Matrix 1, sir.
Yeah.
Like, I know what I'm getting into.
I love Inception. Inception had a great soundtrack. That was Hans Zimmer, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. Great
better
soundtrack.
cast. Inception had a better cast too, but.
I mean,
come
I
on!
guess, at the time, I mean, comparatively speaking, like.
I do like Lawrence Fishburne, but.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it also had your John Wick answers in there.
He's just kind of a neutral card for me. Like, he doesn't. Yeah. He was there.
Look in the chat, man. Listen, I'm seeing Inception over Matrix. Matrix is fantastic. You're right. Matrix did end poorly, but again, that's why I specifically said Matrix 1. even Matrix 1, the ending was a little tricky.
Look, I figured out some good things during this quarantine. You just have to ignore the stuff you don't want to exist. So, like, if you just watch Matrix 1, you're like, what a bold, great story. And then we talked about this on the phone, and you disagreed on one part of it, but I decided that the X-Men series is fantastic if you just watch X-Men 1, X2, First Class, and then Days of Future Past, and it's a great ending. Days of Future Past is a wonderful ending for the old cast, and it's kind of open for the new cast, but I'd rather take open than where it ends up. So, and yes, of course, and Gage's point was that Logan's too awesome of a movie to forget, but Days of Future Past ends happy, and Logan ends with Xavier killed all the X-Men. So I think I'd rather count that as a standalone movie or something, But yeah, you skip X3 and you skip Apocalypse and whatever that last one was. I don't even want to talk about it.
Okay, so check this out. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I just want to double check. There is no Matrix after the first. Leave it up to you, Harry, to say such a thing.
Of course.
So listen, I kind of want to get into this. And again, this is going to be a candid conversation, but I just kind of want to talk about what some of our journeys have been like. Kevin, you said earlier on that you've always been a nerd. Has it always been the same way for both you and for you, Sin, and for you, Jokes?
Yeah, I would say
pretty
so.
much. Like, there was always something that I guess you could say that I was always into. But it was always something that necessarily not everybody was into. So, but definitely from a young age, definitely.
Yeah. Saturday morning cartoons. Once I got my hands on 2600, like, never turned back. Not even a little bit.
Speaking of Saturday morning cartoons, because you brought that up, was there a turning point for you? Was there a point, like for me personally, there was like an age, a grade level where I got to a point where it was like, I'm not supposed to be watching Saturday morning cartoons anymore, but I'm still enjoying Saturday morning cartoons, so I'm going to keep watching, you know what I mean? Kind of a thing. Like, did you all have that? Did you have that, Jokes?
I didn't necessarily have it that way. It got to the point where some of the shows that were coming on, I was just like, oh, this isn't quite what I remember as Saturday morning. But it was like, then it kind of got to the point where it was like, should I still be watching this right now? But it didn't.
Didn't it kind of end at some point though?
It did. Like, they got to the point where they just decided to stop doing Saturday morning, whether it was Kids WB, Fox Kids. I know ABC had a thing at one point. And but they all ended like together, which was the crazy thing. It wasn't like, one ended this year, the other one ended like a couple years later. Like, they all just like collectively decided, guys, let's just end this.
They had a conference call and we're like, let's destroy everyone's childhoods now.
Facts.
So,
right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's do this together. Like, what?
I feel like there came a point at some point where, like, because for me when I was growing up, they put cartoons on in the morning before school. Mm-hmm. There were cartoons that came on as soon as school was over. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there were cartoons on in the morning on Saturday. And I feel like Cartoon Network being a thing, like somewhere between Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, but especially Cartoon Network becoming a thing, it kind of made it so, like, there are cartoons all the time. So we don't really need these separate things. And then, like, Toonami kind of became, like, the after-school thing and what have you. But Toonami was like way after when I was supposed to, like, I guess, not enjoy cartoons anymore. Kevin, Floyd said the same thing. Cartoon Network came along in the chat. Kevin, were you a Cartoon Network guy? Were you a Toonami guy?
Not a lot. Like, I watched, I had people that got me into Aqua Teen, Hunger Force, and stuff like that at the time, but yeah, I was never into it as much as I was into coming home from school and watching Batman, or on Saturday mornings watching Spider-Man and the X-Men cartoons. I think that Spider-Man is underrated, by the way. The 90s Spider-Man was really good. The one that it had X-Men, it had them in it a couple times. So they're definitely like sister-brother programs, but nobody talks about Spider-Man. That was a really good show.
Were you ever made fun of as a kid, Kevin?
Oh, yeah.
into stuff into.
It's hard to remember exactly what I was made fun of. My haircut. I'm sure
it was
one
that
of them.
much stuff, or is it
I was
like?
Yeah.
Was it really?
I was one of those guys that was. I was always one step behind all the cool kids. Like
Sure.
like I'd finally catch on to what everybody else was doing, and they're like, "That's not cool anymore. What are you doing? We're not wearing yin yangs anymore." Like that was like a big thing when I was in elementary school. Was yin yangs they were on everything. I guess we all decided to appreciate the culture, and then I showed up late, and everybody's like, "That's like we're not doing that right now." I was just like, "Man,
I think
can't do it right."
I know that I certainly went through a phase where I think I got away with some stuff because I had a younger brother. Like my brother's like 5 years younger than me, and so I was able to like kind of keep playing with toys. You know what I mean? Like
exactly same thing. Like when I was watching cartoons, I'm like, this is probably about right for him, but I'm a little old.
Yeah. Yeah. But I never stopped. I'm gonna say this too. I think this is a thing that Batman the Animated Series doesn't get enough credit for. But I think that because that cartoon was so much darker and so much more adult, you could kind of get away with it. Like it was sort of like a transition.
That's true. I still watch it now, so whatever.
Sure.
And X-Men was like that too. X-Men was so heavy, and I watched. I have a stepson that watches. He doesn't watch as many cartoons as he used to, but I mean, those cartoons are not as heavy as X-Men. X-Men was so heavy, and so
not at all.
The stuff now is just like neurotic. It's just crazy, like entertainment at the basis form. I feel like a lot of it, anyway.
I mean, I think for me at that time frame, that was around the time that I was first introduced to anime.
Yeah.
And the things that they talk about, the points that they touch on in anime, were so grown.
Oh yes.
By comparison, that I think, again, super niche. So the kind of thing I would easily be made fun of for watching, for paying attention to, but kind of made me feel like, nah, you guys just don't know that they make cartoons for grown-ups too. You know what I mean? Kind of a thing. Did that, seem to be the same thing? I think that kind of changed my perception of those things. What other kind of things would you guys say were the things that maybe you were into that maybe separated you from what would have been considered cool or acceptable or whatever? Like, I know, like, Jokes, you're still into Pokemon. Not my bag, but that's your thing. Your Power Rangers thing behind you. I like Power Rangers for a moment.
Yeah.
But after it went from just normal Mighty Morphin to Turbo, Z, all that type of stuff, that's kind of where you like fizzled out a little bit.
I mean, like I went to the theater and saw the first movie.
The original movie.
Like when they
Ivan Ooze, man, watch out.
Yeah, man. I was about it, but like, did you? Were you made fun of for? I don't know. Did you collect Pokemon cards? Or
yeah, I most certainly did. I collected the cards. I had the game. Started with the original Game Boy when it first came out. So I was the type that would be, sometimes like when it came time when we went outside on the playground, like I was really into playing the Game Boy because it was a point in time like I didn't really want to play sports. I didn't want to do that. So it was a point where I was playing and it kind of was just me. But as you started getting a little bit older, like closer to the end of elementary school and the middle school, it started to become for me like one of those things that people were starting to get into. So I kind of went from being this, the weird kid that's kind of just sitting here playing the Game Boy to, hey, he knows this. We need to talk to him and get with him and try to figure these things out. It kind of started to become that type of thing.
The tables have turned.
Yeah. And you know what? The funny thing about that is I think I went through the same thing in like 2010 when like the MCU started to become a thing. And now all of a sudden everybody's coming to me as the expert. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you know what I mean?
Well, Brandon, I don't know if I told you this, but I wanted to talk, I told you I just relived the X-Men movies again, and I'm an MCU guy. I think what they've done is incredible. It's untouchable so far, but the X-Men, I watched the first two, and I just remembered the feeling I had going in the movies. I took my little brother, and it was like I had some kind of secret, Let's forget the fact that the X-Men have been around since I know they were huge in the 70s, but But I went and I was like, oh, people are about to find out about the X-Men, because I feel like, I mean, it was I don't know, it was nerd mainstream, but it wasn't mainstream. I mean, everyone knows who the X-Men are now. It's crazy, and I mean, or at least that version of the X-Men, which I'm hoping when it pops in the MCU, we'll get the real version of the X-Men.
Target and all sorts of stuff everywhere now. Yeah. Mainstream,
But it was cool to go somewhere and feel like, because I was never that guy that read the book, not X-Men, but I mean just like people that read, like, they read the Harry Potter books first and they're like, oh, the book's better, and I never got to be that guy until X-Men came out. I was like, oh, I know, what they're doing here is a very dumb version of what's really going on in the comic. I finally got to be that guy.
I would agree. I felt that same thing. I think that even into my adult years, I felt like there were pieces of who I was and the things that I loved that I had to hide to an extent. I think I've always been pretty forward about how I feel about Spider-Man. But that was a thing that was able to kind of be played upon, because unlike so many other things like what you just talked about with X-Men, Spider-Man everybody did already know. You know what I mean? Like, everybody knows Spider-Man. It didn't it didn't matter. So it was a little bit different, I think. Sim, what about you, man? Did you experience like bullying? Would you say as a result of being into what we were into?
I don't think it was like traditional cliche bullying. Just more so like that's weird. Like, you watch anime type of deal. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you're not watching the game tonight. You're not doing the type of stuff we're doing. Like, no, I'm going home and getting on my Nintendo because I just got Super Mario World 3. Like, that's what I'm focused on this weekend. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I'm going to the Blockbuster and go get this movie that I wanted to pick up last week, this anime movie I've been dying to watch. Stuff like that. So I always felt like I was in this weird category where I wasn't cool enough to hang out with them, and kind of vice versa. Because like I said before with this, a new album could drop out, we could be sitting at the lunch table, and then I can go bar for bar, word for word, every line throughout the whole CD, and we're all having a great time. And then when it's time they start talking about basketball or something, I bring up something from Batman animated series, like you say, how, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at like, what you talking about? That's weird. You ain't watching Martin? You ain't watch Fresh Prince? No. Did you see that for the Batman last week? That thing was fire. Stuff like that. So I always felt I was in this weird gray zone. You know what I'm saying? Kind of to myself. Like I said, until me and you finally started hanging out, Gage, and I felt like I met someone who's in the same vein as me. You know what I mean? Who walked that line. So then I felt more so like, okay, it's not just me. There is a bunch of people like this out here.
And then sorry if I'm jumping ahead, telling me you have to put it on the back burner. But I was gonna say it's funny too, because it's become such a big thing now. Now it's like everything else that there is. Although I am grateful that most people are, we're all here together or whatever, and I think it's cool. It's like we all have that little secret now that we share together. But there is elitist culture to some parts of it, and all that stuff still.
We were just ahead of the curve. On all this.
Yeah, but I mean, you go to cons, and there is still people that think they're better than other people, and I'm like, sorry, you like something different than I do, but none of us are exactly Zach Morris or whatever. I don't know why I referenced Zach Morris as like I was trying to say somebody cool, and I said Zach Morris. That's what I said.
Came out. Zach Morris.
You did, and there was a time.
Sorry, Preppy.
Yes, it was a cool guy. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. But you know
what I'm saying.
But bringing up Saved by the Bell, I mean, that is a prime example of like what the difference is between like Zach Morris as the preppy, and Slater as the sports guy, and like Screech as the nerd, the nerd, the geek. And I think what happened for me a number of years ago was that I began to find a separation between the idea of a nerd and a geek, and realized that I never really fit into the mold of a nerd. Like, I was never a Screech or an Urkel.
Yep.
Or like the characters from Revenge of the Nerds. Like, I never fit into like the pocket protector glasses, super straight A.
Was that a real thing? Like, I mean, I knew some people that were a little quote unquote nerdy, but
I never saw it like that. At least in my school, the pocket protector, the glasses, like the eye waters.
It started to make sense when Gage.
I mean, there was some people like that a little bit, and they probably are rich right now or something. I'm sure because we, you know, you looked at them and didn't understand it, but they were getting straight A's, and I don't know.
Yeah,
they had to deal with a lot of the same things that we're talking about, though. You know, I mean, even though it's a different kind of nerd.
I think a lot of times, I think the difference between a nerd and a geek, like for me, a geek is just somebody who is like extremely enthusiastic about a subject. You know what I mean? Like it's just that geek has also been given sort of a bad connotation. Where like truthfully, like if you're into history, they call you a history buff. You know what I mean? If you're into motorcycles, you can be a Harley Davidson aficionado, but you're not a geek. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But really, you're a Harley geek. Like that's what that means.
Right.
Technically, right? And so if you're into comic books, guilty, right? You're just a geek. But I was not necessarily like, I didn't ever fit the mold, I don't think, of a nerd, or, you know, not in the way that was set.
So Ryan, did you see Ryan said
now, like geeks are passionate, right? Like
Ryan said geeks are passionate. Awkward. Sorry, geeks are passionate, nerds are socially awkward. That's Ryan McCarroll said that on the on the thread.
And I would agree with that.
Good point.
I would absolutely agree with that. But I think that there are a lot of geeks who do suffer a certain level of social awkwardness. Like, I'm not personally socially awkward, but I have been in some very socially awkward situations because of my geekdom. You know what I mean? That somebody else put me, if that makes sense. Like, I went to parties in high school. I didn't get invited to the best parties.
Oh no,
you know what
me neither. No, absolutely not.
But like you, Sin, you know, I was always very into music, always knew that kind of stuff, and considered myself pretty well-rounded, so I could feel relatively comfortable in almost any situation.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that, and as we do stuff like this, like I meet far more people who suffer from social anxiety or just anxiety as a whole, things of that nature, that you just begin to realize that a lot of it comes from some of that social awkwardness or kind of being ousted from certain groups.
We've seen that at the nerd parties, and it's really cool to see. I've seen a lot of people open up, and not that you have to open up. There's nothing wrong with keeping to yourself, and if that's who you are, then that's fine. But nobody pushes them, you know. But there has been people that come to the nerd party since the beginning, and at the first one they showed up at, they stood in the corner and didn't talk to anybody. And then now they're singing karaoke on stage, and people are dancing around them, and I'm just like, this is huge. To me, that's awesome. And if they don't want to do that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that either. But like I said, it's really cool to see a comfort level happen.
You may not have gotten invited to parties back in the past, but you're the guy throwing them now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I had no choice. I was like, I want to go to a party at some point in my life, and no one will invite me.
I'll just go ahead and make my own party.
I mean, you know, look, I think there's definitely something to that, right? Like, providing a space for people to feel comfortable and to see that there are other people like them, right? That like the same things that they do, and that they're letting loose. And alcohol helps, I'm positive.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
But it's not always a thing. Like, you know, sometimes it just helps to be around people who feel like you feel and enjoy what you enjoy. Sometimes it's nice to be around people who disagree, just so you can have a conversation about what you like and the fact that they like something different from you. You know what I mean?
Right.
I you know, man, I miss cons this year.
No, this has just been weird. So weird.
I really do. And I don't, you know, I think that con withdrawal as a whole, definitely a real thing, but not like it's been this. Like this year, not really having it at all. I mean, we had a couple at the very beginning of the year.
Right.
You know, we got to see people, and you kind of take for granted that, like, you know, I'll see you in like 2 weeks. You know what I mean? I'll see you in a month.
Right.
We're gonna be at such and such. You know what I mean? Doing what we do.
That's what our events have been like too. I'm used to seeing these people, man. It's just
it's so different. Talk to me about how. I'm gonna go to you first, Kevin. What was the transition like for you? Like, how did you get past? Like, are you now comfortable being a geek right now?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you can see how outspoken I am about it, and it is fun. It is funny because I I have feet in different worlds. You know, I still play music, and I'm still highly involved in the music scene. And some of them look at that and go, "I don't understand that at all, the nerd stuff." You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I think it goes the other way a little easier. I have had a lot of my friends from the nerd parties come check out my band, or just come to any concert we're booking. Because hopefully can transcend. You know what I mean? Get people into new things, and that's kind of the whole point of the name. You know, but
makes sense.
But yeah, there's people that look at the nerd things and they don't understand it, but they still, it's hard not to look at the pictures and see what a good time everybody's having and say, man, that's cool.
True.
They might not come. They might not feel comfortable enough to come because, I don't know. I guess I try to tell them that you don't have to be a super nerd to have a good time at it, you know, but because I have had people tell me, you know, I'm only mildly into this stuff, but this is just a good time, so I come. You know what I mean? Or I like dressing up, so I dress up, and that's so.
It's telling again. It is that kind of tables have turned, right? Like there are a lot of people who have been in our shoes who would love to go to the party that somebody else was throwing or whatever, and felt like they might go, but that they wouldn't maybe be able to hold a conversation about, you know, when somebody starts talking about sports in the corner over here or starts, you know, something like that, and felt uncomfortable. And to kind of see that flipped on its head, where you have people who are like the people that go to your concerts normally or in the bands or what have you, and they're saying the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
There's still people that roll their eyes. I mean, but it's also about me growing as a person and being confident about what I like and that I know it's cool. And it doesn't matter if other people don't like it. I mean, I had a guy like Black Eyed Susie's. In Bel Air, we do the smaller nerd parties, and it's kind of different because the rest of the bar is open. So there's people doing other things, not in our room, but they can see into our room. And a lot of times people will watch for entertainment value, and you know, and I get that. I'm not. It doesn't necessarily have to be a hateful thing. I mean, there's people in crazy costumes hugging and singing, and I would watch it too if I was them. You know what I mean? Like, but it's not. I don't necessarily believe that they're trying to make us feel bad or anything. But I've had ones. I had a guy say something straight to me. I was wearing Jesse Jarvis for my birthday. Bought me the jacket from Drive. Which first of all, is that even nerdy? I think it's just straight up the coolest gift I've ever gotten in my life. Like,
it's pop culture,
It's literally that white, you know, that white driver's jacket with the gold scorpion on the back. So I'm just wearing that. That's it. I wasn't cosplaying as Ryan Gosling's character or anything. I was just wearing this jacket. And this drunk guy grabbed me when I was in the lobby and was like, "Me and my friends have a bet. Do you just wear that all the time, or are you wearing this for the party?" And I was like, "Well, I just got it tonight, so I can't really answer that question, but I can tell you that would be." But I can tell you that I would feel 100% comfortable wearing this anywhere because it's awesome. So, like, you're wearing a plaid shirt, sir. Am I supposed to be jealous of you? I don't understand. Hey. Like, what is what's so special about what you're doing? You know, and I don't want to turn it into a hateful thing, but I didn't have those thoughts until he was a jerkwad. You know, so
I hear you.
So I'm like, what makes you feel so comfortable in your what is that, Banana Republic shirt or whatever the heck's going on? I
don't. That's a real thing too.
It was on sale.
I'm supposed to be embarrassed because I have the jacket from Drive. Are you serious?
Right. Like, how's that a bad thing? Do you jokes? Do you feel comfortable now?
Absolutely, 100%.
100%. Wear it on your sleeve, on your shirt, on your hat.
Everywhere. Like every day I go out, there's something nerdy, geeky. There's something I have on. Like whether it's like right now I got Dragon Ball Z is on my head. Like something I go out, there's something I have on me that you're gonna know that I'm a nerdy geek. Whether it's the T-shirt, the hat. I have like normally I have like the Digimon, like the crest from the original series that I wear every now and then. Like there's something on me that you're gonna be able to know that I am comfortable being this geek.
Doesn't it feel good though when you're wearing something like that and somebody recognizes it, like it says something to you?
I get it. Like I get it every day now. So we got to wear these masks. So I have the Captain America mask that we all got different ones made. So everyone, yo, your mask is dope. I'm like, appreciate it. And it's like, some people look at it kind of like, oh, what is this dude on here? But most other people like, yeah, I know that Captain America that you got on there.
I had the same thing happen to me yesterday, Joe. So I went to the drive-thru, and when I pulled up to get my meal, guy saw my Koski shirt on. He was like, dude, that is an awesome shirt. I was like, my man. Thank you. Kept it moving.
I want to say that, there is a significant gap in age between jokes and myself. I won't put anybody else on the spot.
We don't have ages here.
Yeah, I mean,
all right. We don't talk about that.
I feel like
We're grown men who watch cartoons. Like, we're not supposed to have ages.
Right. You're absolutely right. But here's the thing. I think that it has gotten significantly easier for younger people to grow up loving the things that they love.
Oh yeah.
Than it was for us. That divide is so different now because so much of it is so main. Like if you say the word anime in public, people don't ask you what is that.
Right.
The same way they would, you know what I mean? Like they might not understand it or know exactly what it is. They might not be able to say what the difference is between like a cartoon and anime or whatever, but it's not like they've never heard the term at all before.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like so much of that has changed over time. And I think that I tell this story all the time, but like for me, one of the things that helped me in that transition, and this wasn't that long ago, but some friends and I left work, went to a Fridays, you know, just to kind of hang out. There were all these people in there. There were all these ladies in there. And I ran into a friend of mine who, you know, she looked like she had come from the prom or like a graduation or something. She had on this gorgeous dress, beautiful pearl necklace, you know, and we hadn't seen each other in a while. And I was like, oh my gosh, did I miss your graduation? Like, you know, what's going on? She's like, no. We just came from going to see Sex in the City.
That's awesome.
Like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, you got dressed up to go see Sex in the City? And she's like, yeah, you have to. Like, you got to get in the mode. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah. And I was like, so
did they dress
all
up when
of
they
you
watch the
dressed
show
this
on
way?
HBO every week or what?
Yeah. She's like, you know, we're all dressed like this. And I was like, take me to your table.
Right.
So I went to the table and literally
That's
it's like
cool.
her and like 4 of her friends and her mom and her sister. And like
That's
I literally
cool.
look around and this Fridays is right outside the movie theater. And literally all of the women in there were dressed like to the nines. And I was like, you do realize you're Star Wars geeks, right? And they were like, wait, what? And I was like, you got dressed up like the characters to go to the movie.
Right.
Just like we do to go see Star Wars, just like your sports nuts do every Sunday to watch their favorite team. Like they cosplay as their favorite. Like they act like they're not cosplaying, but they put on somebody else's jersey with somebody else's number and somebody else's name every week. Every week. So the same thing. And that just really shed a lot of light on me that like, if you like something enough, if you love something enough, the things that you're willing to do and accept kind of change. And again, geeks are passionate. So the passion that they had for Sex in the City, not different from my, like I've never dressed up as Spider-Man to go to a movie. But I wear Spider-Man.
You go with the full gear on. You got the full gear. Hat, shirt, jacket, shoes.
I think I at least wore a Captain America shirt every single time I saw at least a Captain America movie, if not every Marvel movie. You know what I mean?
Sure. I'm there too. Nope, right there too.
Like when you go to the theater on one of those days and you see people wearing those shirts, you know what they're there to see. You know what I mean? Like you know they're not there to see it.
Walk up to the box office. Oh, what kind of ticket do you want today? You know why I'm here.
You're wearing your Captain America shirt. You're like, Sex in the City, please.
Yeah, I'm looking in the chat. Yes, we have 2 Tyrones in the chat. It's okay, Tyrone and Tyrone. There's 2 Tyrones in the chat. You are not alone. That's what it's all about. You are not alone.
Yes.
You know, Tyrone Carson says it makes me feel good to be unique and different with certain things that I wear that only certain people understand and recognize. I think that's again, that's not different from going out wearing a Harley jacket. When somebody else is wearing a Harley jacket or has a bike and you start talking about that thing that you're passionate about, it feels special. When you go out, like on occasion, I wear an Eagles hat somewhere when I go out and people are like, are you from Philly? Originally, yes. You know what I mean? And people just want to talk about the team and what's going on. And it's kind of like us having the ability to talk about those things and kind of have somebody approach you because they like your mask. Is really awesome.
I mean, there's things that speak to you. I'm trying to think of other things. You know what I mean? Because you brought up Sex in the City. That are just people are so passionate about. I've always felt that way about Rocky. Like Rocky has just always been close to my soul on a spiritual level. And you know, I think towards the end, like when I went and saw Rocky Balboa and both the Creed movies, I'm pretty sure I wore. You know what I mean? Like that first Creed movie, by the way, is one of the best movies I've ever seen, for sure.
Great movie. Yeah,
it's probably the second best Rocky movie. Honestly, it's
yeah, it actually might be. Yeah, you're right. I mean, again, I think that, I'm not totally positive what it is that um, keeps some of those things that we love, looked at the way they are, frowned upon. I think that comic books, um, from the outside, because of the kind of drawings they look more like cartoons and that kind of a thing.
Right.
Because, used to be, we get the Sunday paper and you open up to the comics section.
Mm-hmm.
Comics are always kind of poking fun and making fun of things or whatever, and they're never really taking too seriously. That they have people just have no idea what kind of themes and things are happening, what kind of stuff is really being talked about in those books.
That's what's ironic about X-Men, Brandon, because it's ironic to be embarrassed about that, because that's why X-Men will always have a special place in my heart, because they're mutants, man. Like, they're not I remember when they did X-Men versus Avengers in the comics, and I had been on the full Captain America train, at that point, and I still was kind of for the X-Men, man, because I was just like, the X-Men are the mutants. They're not the Captain America with his square jaw and perfection. He's literal human perfection. You know what I mean? And just like the X-Men are just, and they said that Cyclops said that in that series. I remember he said, we've always been their ugly stepbrother or whatever of the Avengers or whatever, and then so I've always.
I mean, it's true.
It resonates with me. It's like, wow, here I am, a nerd, embarrassed about it, and that's kind of like the X-Men are different and they try to hide it, but before they became X-Men, but that's who they reach out to. So,
I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I can remember being in high school, reading comics and being very into X-Men at the time, because it was very 92-ish.
Oh, yes.
And, thinking that the stuff that I'm being forced to read in my literature classes isn't teaching me more than this is.
No.
You know what I mean? It's just coming from a different time. And comic books have been around for so long now. I mean, they had been around for so long then that there's a history there that spoke to things that were happening at those times too. That just
I mean, obviously X-Men's about civil rights. I mean, if you don't know that, I don't know why you're reading. Why you're reading it?
Like, I mean, now you might not know. You know what I mean? It might not.
That's
be
true. I guess
with where it is now. So if you're part of a younger generation, you may not have that same kind of thing. Like, I don't feel like they're telling that same kind of a story.
I guess it depends. Yeah, it depends what characters you're talking about. Because like Gambit, obviously, I mean, I love Gambit and all, but he's not. I can relate to that. The Assassins and the Thief Guild, where I don't know. That's a struggle we all went through growing up. Is what guild are we going to be in? I don't know. It's just
it's a little
bit more outrageous, but
but he has the red glowing eyes that he can't necessarily hide. I mean,
sure.
Like, there is some of that. That's one of the things I really loved about X-Men First Class, was the time period in which it took. Some of
that was emotional, dude.
And happened in that. Yeah.
You talking about the movie?
Yeah.
That scene. I mean, and that's one of those moments when you're like, man, Magneto's kind of right again.
He was right.
And I mean, it helps these Michael Fassbender. What a badass! That guy's awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, when that satellite dish scene, I mean, that's one of my favorite scenes in any movie ever. Like, it's just so emotional somehow. And like, those words on the script couldn't have been that emotional, but I think who did that? Matthew Vaughn is the director of that movie, and he also did Kick-Ass, and he's done a couple of good movies, and he just got it, man. He saw that scene and was like, we're going to do something with that, and it's going to be super emotional. And
it was poignant.
Yeah,
it was poignant. Yeah. I mean, again, I think that as the things that we've always loved are really beginning to bleed into the mainstream. That there's less of it, but I feel like by nature we always look to the things that fewer people know. Like, we're the kind of people who tend to be like, do you know about this yet? I was there first, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? It's just kind of where we are. And we also have a way of not wanting people who weren't there at the beginning to be a part of what it is that we're like. I see a lot of pushback about like the sheer number of people that show up at like Comic-Cons now who don't really get it and aren't really a part of the culture and are really coming
because
in.
It's such a hip thing to do now. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I mean, but it's also, I'm one of those people who looks at it the way I look at music. It's always great to be one of the first people to know that indie band before they made it as big as they made, and it's always great to be able to say, "Hey, I was there in the door." But like, you're supporting and loving that band because you want to see them.
Yeah.
You
should,
right?
Right.
And find acceptance. I think part of it is that we know that we start to see some of what we love get watered down a little bit to allow the main to participate.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing we really are pushing back on, and sometimes I think we take that out on the people. It's not necessarily their fault.
Yeah.
But I think as a whole, let's see, Batman '89 was a movie that brought geekdom to the mainstream.
At that time, I agree. At that time, but I mean it wasn't the real Batman, but Adam West was super popular when his show came out. That was really funny because real Batman fans were like so frustrated by that portrayal of Batman.
Absolutely.
And here's the entire world embracing it, and the people who know the real character were like, "Come on, this is
what's
not
going
Batman.
on here?
Right.
He's running around with a bomb."
I mean, I will say that absolutely my introduction to Batman was, the 60s Batman in reruns and Scooby-Doo.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I mean, and Justice League. But like, I was accepting of the Batman in the Super Friends, not Justice League, Super Friends, as well as the Batman, because it was, because the one that was on Scooby-Doo was Adam West. You know what I mean? Like it was still, the same thing.
Can I? Hey, can I do a poll for you guys?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, sure.
Just go around the circle and tell me. So it's 2 questions, okay? And this is a social experiment because it's very interesting to me. You got to pick between Batman and Superman, and then you got to pick between Captain America and Iron Man.
Can we answer? Actually, I guess I'm gonna be real with you.
You go first.
You don't even have to go around. You don't even have to go around.
Okay. So it's Captain America and Batman, isn't it? Is it Captain America and Batman?
Yes.
Yes, me too.
Whole way around.
Whole way around. Isn't that interesting though? Because if you could draw a line between them, you'd think it'd be Captain America and Superman is the same kind of thing. But I don't know, man. It's weird. Like Tony's the jaded, darker of those two, and somehow we still love Captain America. And then meanwhile, but I guess there is a power balance thing. We like Batman also because he doesn't have powers, and then Iron Man's more powerful than Captain America.
Here we go.
Sorry, am I?
No. Gage has a running thing with Batman right now on like every show thing that we do.
People give me a hard time.
Have I opened Pandora's box?
Yes, I expect our good friend Ellis to just show up out of the blue for whatever random reason and say something.
Like, damn it, he's talking about Batman again.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right.
So look, no.
You get why I brought that up. Isn't that interesting that like in those 2 picks we don't pick the same way as
Yeah, that's what
I love Iron Man. I love him. I love his smart mouth. I think that's probably more of the kind of person I am in real life. But Captain America is who I want to be, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like
I think that that's a lot of what it is. I think that for most people, Iron Man, Tony Stark is a more honest version of who most of us really are.
Sure.
And I think that Tony Stark is attempting to live up to being what Captain America is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think on some level he idolizes him quietly,
Yeah,
or looks up to him,
With jealous eyes though too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but I think the thing about it also is that the difference is that Captain America is willing to break the rules to do the thing that's right.
That's why Civil War was so interesting because you didn't expect Captain America to be the one breaking the law,
Right.
But he's a soldier, but he's not a stooge. Like he just does what he thinks is right. That's what he does.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the big thing. I think that's the difference is that he's not a stooge. He doesn't.
Right.
It's he's gonna do the thing that is at least in his mind and his heart the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think Batman falls into that same thing. Like, I think it's so much easier for Superman to do that than it is for Batman to do that because Superman doesn't have any tragedy. Well, that's the other thing. There's no tragedy. So
I do love I think my favorite thing about Superman is I love the Smallville years kind of, and I don't just mean the TV show. I just like some of the comic books recently have highlighted that era of Superman when he was like learning to be a good dude with good morals and experiencing his powers and knowing that he can't use them to bully people I don't know. I like that era of Superman a lot, you know, and.
Yeah, listen, I'm just gonna tell you now that collectively we hate Superman in this group. Like it's just because he has too much power. I think that's the issue with him more than anything.
And I think that Henry, if they can get him a good director, they could really do something with him. I don't think they've done it yet. I don't think they've done it yet. The best Henry moment to me was when he's ultra cheesy Superman towards the end of Justice League, and he's just like, "Is this guy bothering you still?"
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's Superman. Like, I'm like, that was so cheesy, and I loved every word of it. It was great, you know. He's just like, you know, but they haven't really used him properly at all.
Listen, this is not going to be a nerd fight, you guys. I'm looking at the chat.
I don't know, Brandon. You look like you're going to snap at any moment. So
a fight. Banks, I see you. Rob, I see you. Listen, Thomas, I see you. Listen.
It starts out with us saying unity, 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 and then by the end of this,
of course,
it's like go to hell.
Right, right. But here's the thing. That is also one of the things I love about this community is that we can completely disagree and pull point from multiverse and still know that we love all the same things. It creates dissension, but it doesn't create hate.
No, not at all. Yeah.
And I really do think that, and just when I say things like Batman's not a superhero, it ruffles feathers.
A lot of them.
But I never said he's not a hero.
That doesn't bother me, though. That kind of doesn't bother me at all.
See what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where...
You know what comment bothers me? Is whoever wrote the line of dialogue, "What's your superpower? I'm rich." That bothered me. I don't know if that was
the most honest answer
I was going to say.
Yeah, but to me, that's not the Batman I love. I love the Batman who is cynical and somehow thinks he's better than everyone else, even though he has no abilities whatsoever. Like the rich thing to me, I'm like, what is that?
I feel like that was that answer.
That was.
I literally feel like that was not, but I got this money. Like listen, like I was in your hideout, waiting for you.
Yeah.
I have this money. You just asked me why.
I think in New 52 there was a good line where they said, "What can you even do?" And he's like, "I can keep you guys from messing up." Or whatever, like so he's still talking down to him, dude. Like he just like, you know what I mean, like that's what I love. And you know the rich line had Joss Whedon written all over it. I feel like I was like, Joss
for sure.
The same guy that had Captain America making jokes in the second Avengers movie. Like I'm like, come on.
Right. So look.
Sorry, I sidetracked us. This is what I do.
No, that's fine.
No, it's okay.
That's perfect.
Again, the idea behind a panel like this really is about creating unity. It is about creating a space for people to feel comfortable talking about stuff like this.
Yeah.
It is for people to know that they're not alone. Even, again, it's kind of like what you said, when people come to Transcended events, sometimes they're off in a corner kind of by themselves. And I see that at cons all the time. People who are kind of just away and off and by themselves. It's the kind of thing that does bother me. You do have to respect that some people are just not comfortable being in close proximity or.
Well, I try to be the guy, and I walk up and go, "Hey, can I introduce you to a couple people or whatever?" But I've also learned to understand when that didn't go well in the early going. I took personal offense to it because I'm a person too, So I only have so much confidence to go around. If somebody treats me like a jerk off, then it's because I've had that backfire where people are just like, "No, leave me alone." I'm just like, "Oh, okay." But I came to learn that it's okay that they don't want to meet anybody, and they came to live to have the experience they want to have, but I still put myself out there because I try to make it easier for them to make that jump if they want to make that leap.
I think that's the right thing to do. One of the things that I have certainly learned, especially in quarantine, I've seen so many memes and statements and things about introverts and like things like, "Hey, introverts, check on your extrovert friends because they're not doing okay because they're stuck," whatever. And, through a lot of discussion and talking to a lot of people and knowing a lot of people who are introverted, it's one of those things where you realize that, like, sometimes a name like that can be a misnomer because a lot of introverts love being around people. That doesn't mean they want to socialize with you or meet new people or whatever, but they don't necessarily want to be cooped up. They may want to keep to themselves. They still may want to be out and kind of witness and bear things and see what's happening, and they may just be enjoying being there,
it's
right?
It's
being
a complex situation, man. I mean, I have people now all the time like, are you doing all right, man? You're an extrovert, you're a real social person, so this has got to be hard on you. And look, that's true but at the same time, like, I'm like, if these people had any idea the battle that goes on inside of me to get me to do those things, it's not like I'm not one of those guys that when I have to hand out flyers to strangers goes, I can't wait. I have to hype myself up and be like, you're gonna meet new people, it's gonna be great. Like I'm doing all that stuff, you know. It's just I've just learned that if I can get myself to that point, I'll be okay. So at least I know that much. But it's not as black and white as people think. Like where you're just either an introvert or extrovert.
You just turn it on and turn it off. One and two.
There's a lot of circumstances to it. Yeah, for sure.
You can absolutely be an extrovert with tons of anxiety. You know what I mean? About doing things. Like you can be the kind of person who has a band and does performances all the time in front of hundreds or thousands of people and still be uncomfortable going into those moments or even during those moments. Like that's a very real thing for a lot of people. I mean, there are people who are as famous as you can think of that throw up every time they get ready to go on stage. That, you know what I mean? Like, and it's things like that I feel like are important for us to continue to try to bring to the forefront and just let people know that it's okay, because there's other people who are going through that too, that you're not by yourself.
In general, I wish people would just stop for a second and remember that everybody is feelings. I know that sounds really straightforward, but I don't feel like anyone's doing that. And I don't know what the problem is, but I just don't get it. I don't understand, you know.
I think
in general,
I think what a lot of that is that a lot of times people are not, even though you understand other people have feelings, they put their own feelings first. Not everybody is an empath.
It's a lot of selfishness.
You know and understand how you feel, but there are other people who can't put themselves in your shoes. You know what I mean? Or just don't necessarily get it. And, even like outside of geek stuff, for me, like I'm the kind of person who like, I love music. I mean, I like all kinds of music, but I don't love all music.
Right.
I love all kinds of music, right? But I've always been the kind of person who like, if you're into a music that I'm not into, I want to know why you're into it. I'm not necessarily trying to get into it. You know what I mean? But I'll go to a show. I want to see people having a good time. And like, even if it just doesn't persuade me to like buy an album or, you know what I mean, go to a concert on my own or become a major fan, like I learn a certain level of respect for the fact that people love what they love and are having a good time doing what they're doing.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you tear up some karaoke, my friend.
Thank you.
You do.
Thank you.
It's always a highlight.
I do have people who are like, you do karaoke. Lainey asked me the other day, we were doing a show together. She was like, you do karaoke? And I was like, yeah. I'll do some karaoke.
I dabble.
Yeah, I do a little bit. You know, I enjoy it.
I can't see she not do it. I could see her not doing it probably.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
But she's, I've been. We like a lot of the same bands. I've hung out with her at shows, and she's super.
Yeah.
She can't make that leap to being on stage, I guess, for some reason.
Nope. Not her thing. And you know what? And that's the thing. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like, I think some people actually suffer from humility.
Oh
yeah, it's a strange thing, right? Look, sometimes you're doing things that are great for the outreach of other people and so forth, and you're not necessarily letting people know that you're doing great things for other people. I felt like in those moments, she was one of those people who's like, I do all this charity work, but I don't, like nobody knows, you know what I mean, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Look, what I want to do, hey Rob, you're right. We sang some great songs when we did sing, and
hopefully you'll remember.
I knew you weren't gonna remember it. I knew you weren't gonna remember it. That was okay. We had a great time. What I won't do is jump in the comments and talk about Batman, because that's down the road. That is not happening right now. You know what? We might have to have a separate show just to discuss that. Y'all okay with that?
I'm perfectly fine with that.
You already said we got to go back and do that at the last time. Yeah.
Here's what I want to do. Sin, I want to go to you first before we start to wrap this up.
Sure.
I just kind of want to get your feelings on where you are, again, as far as your comfortability, where you are now, and like any advice you might have to anybody out there who is currently not
Currently, I am 100% comfortable with who I am and being a geek and all that stuff. I wear, like you say, jokes. I wear it proudly. I do not care. I flaunt it. Somebody sees on my work computer, see on the background. Oh, what's that? Such. Well, such A, B, and C. Talk about it. Like the guys that, like always ask me that type of stuff at work. I'm that guy that they'll come to about Marvel and Star Wars and I love to share it. Love to talk about it. Yeah, everything. Even my boss said something about the Arrowverse not too long ago. Like, oh, okay, well, okay, you want to talk about this now? Okay, cool. But no, I'm comfortable. I love who I am, and I'm looking forward to more talks like this. Hopefully, getting back out into the public to conventions and all that kind of stuff. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens in the future. But as far as something I can recommend to help people with this type of stuff, social media. There's plenty groups, whether it's Reddit, whether it's Facebook, whether it's any one of these sites that have like-minded people like yourself that you can go and discuss and join in these conversations and all that type of stuff. So I would say use your social media wisely and find groups that you can connect with and discuss these things that you love together.
Mm-hmm. I dig that. I think that's good advice. Jokes, what about you?
So really mirroring the same thing like I said earlier. Like I'm 100% comfortable. Like I love talking about the stuff. I love having people come up to me and talk about stuff and ask me different questions about different things. Like kind of like saying, like today I learned something about a coworker of mine. It's like I had my cell phone out today. My Broly, my background's Broly, and he ran and looked over and was like, "Yo, is that Broly on your background?" And I was just like, "What do you know about Broly?" And we literally started having a little conversation there. But and that kind of ties in. It's just like just talk to people. Like find something out that they like that necessarily you don't like. Try to understand where those differences is, and you know what? Maybe try it. Like me and Sin both love anime, but there's animes that I know Sin loves that I don't, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But we definitely have those opinions where we're like, okay, I can see where you're coming from, and vice versa, he sees where I'm coming from. But just having the dialogue, I think, is key, regardless. Social media, in person. I know some people, not necessarily those that like to try to talk all the time, but maybe try to find someone maybe you're really cool with, even if it's not necessarily in this anime, cartoons, that kind of realm. Gage, an analogy you always bring up, the sport, being a sport buff. Like, I'm sure you may have that person out there that absolutely can rattle off Michael Jordan's stats from all the 90s and everything. Talk to someone like that. Just find that common ground.
I would agree. Kevin?
I think you just have to take the leap, man. I mean, if you're at a Transcendent event, you're bound to, I mean, people wear literally on their sleeve what they like. So you can look around and say, I could probably relate to that person over there. and to take the leap and say hello. And I mean, look, there is the possibility you're going to get hurt. I get hurt every day, dude. Just there's people out there, and it's you got to know that it's about their issues. As long as you're being real, then it's about their issues, and you can't you just got to let it bounce off you. But there's definitely love out there, and especially at these parties and at the conventions, there's people who love what you love. It doesn't even have to be about geek stuff. It's about really anything, And if they don't like what you love, then that's fine too, because that's the awesome diversity of this planet, And but if you're seeking that connection, you have to try. I know it's a very bare minimum answer, but it's honestly the truth, because once you decide to try and to take that leap, then it's going to happen. I mean, like I said, you could get some bruises along the way, but that's just I can't protect everybody all the time, and I can't even protect myself. So it's just you have to be willing to take the bruises, but you're going to make some real connections that mean a lot to you. And I mean, some of the people I've met at cons and conventions are the best friends and family I have. So.
Fact.
And it starts with liking the same thing, but it doesn't end with that. That's just the beginning.
You're right.
So.
I think, for me, what I would say is, be comfortable with your personal level of fame. It is a huge thing for me that nobody is a bigger fan than you are of something because they know a few more details, or because they buy and wear shirts, or because they spend the money to get their favorite character, plastered on their car. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can do none of that. You don't have to wear a shirt or a hat or get a tattoo or any of those things to prove that you enjoy something, to prove that you love something. And so when you do go to an event, when you do see people who are proud, who are comfortable being the geek that they are, don't let that make you afraid to be proud of the geek that you are as you stand. You don't have to put it on display to be comfortable with who you are. You don't have to put yourself in a position to have somebody who you're not comfortable coming up to you asking you, oh, hey, is that so and so? Is that Broly? Oh, is that Akashi? Who, you know what I mean? Like, you don't necessarily have to put yourself in that position.
Mm-hmm.
You can wear a regular polo shirt or a Jordan shirt, or you know what I mean? Like, you can.
Is this where I apologize for the Banana Republic comment? Look, if you're watching this and you shop at Banana Republic, that was just a random thing that came into my head. I have no particular feelings about you one way or another. I just want to throw that out there.
I don't generally wear that anyway. Like, it's fine. My level of comfortability is not what I think about your level of comfortability. It shouldn't be that way across the board, and that's what I think I'm trying to get across. So, you know, don't ever let yourself, especially coming to events like we are, again, we're all like-minded, we all love what we love, but just because you don't cosplay or you don't, you know what I mean, like, you can come and be okay. If you get to a karaoke and you don't know the words to a song that everybody else seems to know, it's cool. Just keep coming. Eventually you'll learn the words. That's kind of how it works. So I think on that note, we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody who is in the chat, everybody who's in the comments, everybody who watched along. I want to take a moment to give another special thank you to Kevin for joining us. Again, really,
I miss
really
you guys so much
to have you here.
Miss you too, man.
We'll be together before long. I'm positive that sooner than later we'll get together and we'll make some other things happen, and they won't be virtual. How about that?
Hopefully soon.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that.
In the meantime, you guys, please make sure that you are following Transcendent Events on Facebook, on Instagram.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere else? What am I missing?
We're on Twitter, but I rarely do much on there. Twitter I can't handle it.
It's tough. I get it.
There's also, I'm going to ramp up. You know, we're planning to do our first Comic-Con this year. It's a huge step for us. It's called StellarCon. It's scheduled to be in a huge arena in Hartford, November 21st. So there's some time. I'm really hoping that some things will go right and that we can do that. We have some really cool guests we're lining up. It's a big step for us, like I said, because we've been doing these parties. They're huge. They're great. We have a great family, but this is going to be a bona fide Comic-Con. And
nice.
So, but StellarCon is what it's called. There's a website. There's a Facebook page. So in anticipation of that hopefully happening, give me a follow. I appreciate that.
Yeah, do that. Listen, I'm going to ask a question about that real quick, Kevin. With it being, like, end of November, is this going to be, like, can we expect a Nerds Giving combo here? Like, are we, you know what I mean?
Maybe,
like,
you know what? It's fall November 21st, so it might make sense to make the after party that.
Hey.
I'll be frank with you. For people who don't know the history, Nerds Giving was kind of the first big hit for my company and the nerd community. You know, it's Thanksgiving weekend. Obviously, we'd have a Thanksgiving buffet, and we had some cool artists over the years do artwork, and photographers took pictures of, like, it was like a Last Supper kind of scene, but it was all nerd fandom people. But it lost. I don't know. It's weird as the whole thing grew, the whole community for us. For some reason, that particular event just seemed to be less and less important to people. And I don't know why necessarily, but I think it's because Nerdpocalypse became the flagship for us instead of Nerds Giving. And, you know, and another thing, Nerd Party here was, I think it's the biggest nerd party we've ever had. And that's becoming a big thing. I don't know. It just, for whatever reason, it fizzled. And as a businessman, as much as I like doing things with my heart, you sometimes with your brains. And to me, I'm like, look, if people don't want to come out Thanksgiving weekend anymore, then I shouldn't try to make them. You just do... You know, and I think StellarCon is the week before Thanksgiving this year or something. So it's not that. I would never do that. it's terrible. It's a hard sell.
I think it might be a good after party idea. I'm
I like
say that might.
And
be
we'll be out there,
party.
so we'll be out in Hartford County. So I'm sure Black Eyed Susie's would do something awesome for us. I love that place. Great people.
We have to talk about that more a little offline. That's
okay. Yeah, I'm down.
Listen, again, you guys make sure you're following Transcendent Events if you're not already following.
Thank you.
Best nerd parties there are. You guys can follow us across the board at Loading Snacks, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We don't tweet as often as we should either. Twitter. Again, we do shows at least twice a week. We have a new series that is getting ready to come out, Anime Vault, that Sin is helming for us. That starts this Thursday.
Hey guys, Holly wants to say hi real quick. Sorry
to interrupt. What's up, Holly? How are you?
She got all dressed up for you guys. What the hell?
That's special.
She was not wearing that when this interview started. Okay.
Pardon me for showering and putting clothes.
Pardon you. I guess I should be thanking you guys. Thank you guys so much for
Hey, listen, I can't speak for what kind of trouble you'll be in when this is over.
Right.
Then the cameras will be off.
Let me just say, he's making jokes, but I need to do laundry. I need to wash my shorts and my t-shirts and dresses.
You know what? I'm coming up with a new strategy. I'm hearing a new strategy right now. I'm like, dude, if I hide all the other clothes.
That's what I hear. That's what I'm hearing.
Be careful.
This is the Batman move. I need to look at my heroes and what
you
they
should
do.
have pre-planned.
Yeah.
Prep time gone.
I think all your shorts and stuff were dirty. Can you put that dress on? That's what I hear.
Yeah. There appears to be only this one dress. I don't know.
You gotta wear this.
I'm not sure how that happened. Yeah.
I just throw there's like a clean laundry bin. I just throw it out the front door and she's not looking. I'm like, I don't know where the stuff went.
See? I don't know how long that'll hold up because we can go shopping now. Like you should just go shopping and that could be.
There you go.
That's a good point.
That could backfire. I don't know.
Now you're killing me.
Do it.
No, I'm
just saying. I'm looking out for you. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Holly. How are you?
Yeah.
Good to see you. I'm good. Just finishing up some baking and sending off some a cake and cupcakes.
Hey.
I was just getting ready to say, since you're there, please tell us about what you're doing now that is going so well.
So I am a cake decorator by trade for the past 20 years. So I quit that life to
cat's in here making noise.
Get into event life, Transcendent, but that's my roots: is cake decorating and baking, and I just really love it. I was baking like crazy because it's a huge stress reliever for me, and I was giving it to like friends and family. And then people were like, "I don't know that." And one day I just decided, hey, I'm going to make a maybe want it. And then he made the menu like sold out for.
Yeah.
So.
Talking 30, 35 orders.
Right.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
It's been crazy. It's been really good. A lot of work. For the first month or two of like not having a job, a full-time job.
Yeah.
So
she's been inspiring, guys, for real.
How do they find the sugar drop? How do they order? How do they do it?
So,
you're always sold out.
There's on Instagram. Oh, we printed these stickers backwards. No, I'm just kidding.
It's right on our screens. You're fine. It's right on our screens.
Oh, it is. Okay. The Sugar Drop Maryland is the Instagram. The Sugar Drop MD. And then, if you just search the Sugar Drop one, I think it's the Sugar Drop MD is like the facebook.com/the Sugar Drop MD. But I mean, we got a new July menu coming out soon. I mean, we're talking peanut butter cup cheesecakes, cookie. She's got a cake called Cookie Dough My God. It's got cookie dough icing and cookies on top, and the cinnamon rolls have been a huge hit. She makes cinnamon rolls like a huge pan.
I'm just gonna
snack bite.
I was about to say we about to have a whole season of snack bites here.
Are you gaining weight, Kevin?
What's that?
Are you gaining weight?
He's losing weight.
Yeah.
Really?
I just look at it as a good. I'm like, oh, this must be a good smelling candle. It's not something I could eat.
And not just that. Like, here's the thing. Like, I'm not baking all day for him.
Yeah.
I'm baking for people that paid me to bake them.
People ask me like, how do you not? I'm like, are you watching my face saying, hey, eat this? Because that's not happening.
No, that's not what
I have to make a special request and say, can you please make me something for Saturday? And then she'll do it because she's a great wife. But it's not like she's just like, you sure you don't want some every day or something? That doesn't happen. I'm not paying the money.
She's not offering you food, and you're hiding her clean clothes. So I see how this is working out.
She's like, you can't afford. She's like, I've seen your bank account, and you can't afford to buy.
So full of crap. He's so full of crap. I'll be wearing like painted up t-shirt and PJs, and he'll tell me how beautiful. Full of crap.
Well, wait, when I say you're beautiful?
He's right. He's right.
That's what it sounded like you were saying. All right.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Hey, listen, we're gonna shut it down. I do see a couple people in there. Allie, I saw you jump in. I miss you too. We really do. All of us miss you. Yeah. Again, thank you to everybody who jumped in, who commented. We are so happy to have had you. Feel free to share this. Let people know they can go and watch it, and we'll be prepping one for next month for sure. Mm-hmm. With that, we're gonna shut this one down. We are out.
I love you guys.
Love you too, man.
Bye.
Toodles and
See you soon.
What it do, snackers and snackers? Did you like what you just saw? Would you like to help us grow? Here's what you can do. Shoot over to patreon.com/loading snacks. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on your favorite platform of choice. Appreciate you.